city of Denver, the state of Colorado, you guys have been fucking amazing for the last 10 years.
Let me start off with a Twitch feed this morning, and I got to get the whole name right. Mile High Hockey Land.
The city of Denver, the state of Colorado, you guys have been fucking amazing for the last 10 years.
Let me start off with a Twitch feed this morning, and I got to get the whole name right. Mile High Hockey Land.
The city of Denver, the state of Colorado, you guys have been fucking amazing for the last 10 years.
Let me start off with a Twitch feed this morning, and I got to get the whole name right. Mile High Hockey Land.
The city of Denver, the state of Colorado, you guys have been fucking amazing for the last 10 years.
Let me start off with a Twitch feed this morning, and I got to get the whole name right. Mile High Hockey Land.
The city of Denver, the state of Colorado, you guys have been fucking amazing for the last 10 years.
Let me start off with a Twitch feed this morning, and I got to get the whole name right. Mile High Hockey Land.
The city of Denver, the state of Colorado, you guys have been fucking amazing for the last 10 years.
Welcome to the Mile High Hockey Lab.
Let me start off with a Twitch feed this morning, and I got to get the whole name right. Mile High Hockey Land.
The city of Denver, the state of Colorado, you guys have been fucking amazing for the last 10 years.
Let me start off with a Twitch feed this morning, and I got to get the whole name right. Mile High Hockey Land.
The city of Denver, the state of Colorado, you guys have been fucking amazing for the last 10 years.
Let me start off with a Twitch feed this morning.
All right.
Welcome to the Mile High Hockey Lab.
There we go. Hello and welcome to the Mile High Hockey Lab. My name is Adrian Hernandez, coming to you loud and clear from Pueblo, Colorado to talk Colorado Avalanche hockey. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please head on over to our website, milehighhockey.com. If you enjoy this programming, I promise that you will enjoy the written programming we have over there, as well as please follow the four fine individuals that are joining me today: Ezra Parter, Evan Liu, Jackie K, and Brennan Vogt, as well as myself on X. You can find our handles right there under our beautiful faces, Jackie's awesome emblem. We really appreciate you all for joining the program. We have 73 live viewers already, and more of you come to the show to view us doing our thing every single day and every single week, and that makes us happy, as this is our 78th edition of the Mile High Hockey Lab. We have plenty to talk about, good and bad, but I'm just going to drop the puck after telling you what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the Avalanche being back at 500, 5-5. We're going to talk about, unfortunately, Ross Colton's injury status, the goalie situation. We'll preview some Avs and Lightning / Preds, and we will do some NHL news and bold predictions, as we always do, to round out our show. So let's drop the puck, and I will send this first one to you, Evan. Evan, the Avalanche are now 5-5 after winning 4 straight and then losing last night to the Chicago Blackhawks. They got all 4 of their wins with Annunen between the pipes. Your initial thoughts on last night and kind of the way things have changed since that 0-4 start?
Yeah, I think if you kind of look at, I feel like if you ask Avalanche fans, hey, we start 0-4, but then we go 5-5 in the first 10 games of the season, I feel like most people would accept that, right? Mm-hmm. I think it's an okay spot to be in right now. And at least last night's game against the Hawks was far from their best. Second leg of a back-to-back. Usually the Avs are good, though, in these sorts of games, and it just wasn't that today or the other day. So it was kind of showing, I guess, because that third period of the Ottawa game was not great when they were up, I think 3-1 or 2-1 or something like that, and then barely won 5-4. They have now combined for 69 goals in their last 7 games. Nice. That's probably my favorite stat that I've been tracking for like the last 3 years since the Avs and Sens have played each other. But yeah, I think last night's game is just kind of a write-off. Georgiev was unlucky with a few bounces on net, and the team in front of him as a whole just wasn't all that good.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the best segue I could ask you for, because I think the biggest question right now in Colorado is, and that's why I titled this episode, Whose Net Is It Anyway? Because we're told it's Georgiev's starting net, and then he loses 4 straight. Then we watch Annunen play 4 straight and win them all. Georgiev comes back and immediately loses. Ezra, I feel like even though maybe the team wasn't good in front of Georgiev, it's still not good for his chances of maintaining the starting spot here in Colorado. Do you agree with that?
I do agree with that. I think there's 2 reasons for that. One, the play in front of him is kind of squirrely, and it's not as solid as the play in front of Annunen was. But is that because the team knows it's Georgiev back there and they have to play differently? I don't know. I don't want to put any thoughts in. I can't speak to what's going on in their heads, but clearly watching the game, they are playing in a way that is different. And that's tough. That game specifically, they got off to such a weird start with 2 penalties in the first 7 minutes. When you PK like that to start the game, especially on the second half of a back-to-back, you're never going to find your legs. That's a right. Brutal. That's a dagger in the back before the game even gets going. That sucks. It would have been nice for them to bounce back better. But Georgiev's play, he got bad bounces. We can't deny that. Mm-hmm. But why is his 5-hole so open for them? You know what I mean? He's not playing in a confident way. He's not playing the goaltending position solidly. He's playing the goaltending position where he's in a way where it looks like he's reaching for saves. It looks like he's trying to make something happen. And if you're trying to make something happen as a goalie, the thing that's going to happen is goals against. You can't play like that. So, yeah, they look like bad bounces if you just watch them. But if you're watching only his play, you see a guy who's shaky and out of position all game. So it's hard to blame a guy when you watch a puck going off somebody's pads or a rebound not get cleared and end up behind him. It's really hard to blame him. But, man, Georgiev makes me want to blame him, you know? So it's hard to watch.
Well, I'm with you there. That he had another moment which reminded me of his coming out of the net poke check, where he came way out of the net and poked to the side of the net, and it was just so unnecessary and such a panic move that it told me a lot, even though it wasn't necessarily a quote unquote Georgiev night. Sure, 4 goals, but 1 was an empty netter, yada yada. Right. But I'm with you, man. It's a confidence thing, and Bednar's even talked about how Georgiev's a plenty capable goalie, but that sometimes it's between the ears for him, and I think we're seeing a lot of that. Brendan, I want you to touch on the goalie situation, but I also want you to give us, if you can, an update on Ross Colton, who left the game with seemingly a foot injury after kind of blocking a shot last night.
Well, the take on the goalie situation is they've taken approximately the same amount of shots, 126 for Gorgiev and 129 for Annunen. So the numbers are comparable as in terms of the amount of shots. So they're getting the same amount of pressure, but obviously Annunen is standing up to it better.
Yeah.
And I'm just seeing a lot more panic from Gorgiev. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jackie, on that, if you're seeing it too. But like the poke check thing, that I don't think we really even saw that last year. This is something that he's trying out new this year, and it just seems to be opening up the crease or the net a little bit more, and it's just something that he should not be doing.
Plain and simple. Yeah. Well, what do you got for me with the Ross Colton stuff?
Well, he left the arena in a boot, so
Not
that's
good.
not good. My guess is that during the intermission of what was it, between the second and the third, because he didn't come out for the third, right?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
He probably took the skate off and it just swelled up like a balloon. And
yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, because a lot of guys like hole out, get undressed between periods and like shower.
They probably took an X-ray.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and in order to do an X-ray, you have to take off the boot because it's usually composite. So it's a composite skate, depending on what skate he's wearing. But it probably swelled up like a balloon, and he couldn't get his skate back on.
Yeah.
So he was like, I'm SOL. Got to do this. Can't do it anymore.
Yeah, well, just when we thought we were out of the woods with Ross Colton, right? He had that injury to his hand, supposedly with a follow-through on a shot a couple games prior to that. But, Jackie, I want to hear your thoughts on the goaltender situation. And I want to know, is Ivan now on power play 1 with Ross Colton out?
Maybe, but maybe for one game.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Briefly. Well, the goaltender situation, I still feel like there's something missing. I feel like there's a piece of the puzzle that we're not seeing because it hasn't added up all this time. It was strange to me that we even discussed on this podcast like 2 weeks ago, they were forcing Georgiev to get a win. And he did. He won that Anaheim game. As soon as he won, then Annunen starts. And now I guess it seems like Annunen will continue starting. Now, it feels like everyone thinks, okay, that was just the final straw. They're over it. It's Annunen's net. I don't know. I still don't buy it.
Yeah.
So, I think one of them's getting traded, and I still don't know which one because I just don't think they're settled with this at all. Now, where does Kakkonen fit in? That one's a little odd. Like, they could have left him in conditioning for longer. But something's happening, and I think it's going to coincide with when Nichushkin comes back and all these changes and these roster moves on the horizon that we assume are coming. And they're going to do something because I just don't believe it. I just don't believe how you can. I mean, why didn't they even start Annunen in game 3 or 4 or even the Anaheim game? It just, what? And I don't know. They're way too anal about goaltending to just be like, oh, it's Annunen now. That's cool. We're good with it. Like, I just don't believe it at all. So that's how I see the goaltending situation. And if that had been Georgiev at the end of the Ottawa game, the perspective on that would have been a lot different.
That is a fair and smart thing to bring up because I agree with you. Like, it would have been like, oh, look, it was bound to happen.
Look,
Totally.
it's Forgiev. Forgiev showed up. And now
No
it's
doubt.
like, and it's like, he's been good enough. He's he's owed a bad period. Like, they still won, whatever. It's just funny to me.
Well, I'm looking at goalie contracts because when you guys bring up trades and yada yada yada, I think about his cap hit, and he's at $3.4 million AAV for 3 years at 10-2 total. He's the tied for 29th highest paid goalie. Some of the goalies paid less than him: Mrazek, Vejmelka, Skinner, Aiden Hill, Anderson. My thing is with the Avalanche, you have to right now in a cap crunch get the most out of your contracts. And the person who's, although not getting paid astronomically in comparison to the entire cap, paid a lot more than he's performing, it's Alexander Georgiev. And there will come a time where you have to choose, are we going to hope and pray that this dude is in the right headspace at the right time for us to win games when it counts? Or are you going to offload this contract, go with Annunen, and go with whatever veteran hits the wire again, potentially if Kakkonen does work out, him as a backup? I think I'm more comfortable with that, because then you have this, depending on the deal, on what you get in return. I'm assuming it's probably not much in terms of a roster player. So I'm thinking you're probably going to get that cash back in terms of the space. So at least you have 3.4 more to go potentially fill a void in your forward group, which clearly can't stay healthy. It's just kind of like, it's a snowballing of thoughts for me when you bring up, well, I mean, AJ even went too far as to say waive him, which I think is crazy. But
here's my thinking. If they're going to waive him, then they should have done it today, because then he'd clear for tomorrow when they have to, assuming they need to call somebody up tomorrow. Waiving doesn't feel like an Avs-ish move when it comes to that.
Yeah, we're not Edmonton.
No. When have they waived a guy and buried like millions in the AHL? They could have done that to Johansson. They just,
right.
I don't think they have the cap for that. So I feel like they're going to trade him. I wonder with Pittsburgh, because there's a rumor, and I can't remember where it came from, but that they were interested in, and I don't know how to say his name, Ned, however you say it.
Nedeljkovic.
Yes.
Nedeljkovic.
Yeah, Nedeljkovic. And I know Tristan Jarry just got sent down for a conditioning loan too.
And so it does almost seem like the two organizations are sort of in step here, kind of feeling out their issues. I could see something like that. Because I don't think they're going to straight up trade Georgiev for either a cap dump or a roster player like that. I think like a goaltender. So kind of solve each other's problems in a way, like a swap.
Change of scenery vibe.
Can you imagine Alexander Georgiev behind Chris Letang and Erik Karlsson? I mean, if I'm Pittsburgh, I'm like, I can't take this guy, But I see what you're saying for sure. I mean,
it's going to be a hard sell to any.
And he makes
fan base.
$2.5 million, so you could
save.
It's in the ballpark. You could throw things in one way or the other to make it work. And he's signed for next year as well, which we know the Avs loves building a bridge to their next problem. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just a thought I had, but even if it's not with Pittsburgh, to me, it feels like a trade. I almost feel like Annanen's in a trade showcase. Like, that's the only reason why you just all of a sudden would flip on a dime and be like, he's starting every game. So I don't think he's out of the woods either. I don't think they're like gung-ho on like, oh, Annanen's our guy. He's our starter. He's the man for us. I don't think that's the answer either.
Is there a team then that you can, outside of Pittsburgh, obviously, because that was more of your like Georgiev maybe trade.
Yeah.
But like if you're seeing a team who's interested in a guy like Annunen, who is that? And like what, you know what I mean? Like what could they send in terms of a goalie in return without the Avs adding a piece? It just becomes such a...
that one probably would have to be less for a goalie, because then in theory you'd have... I don't know why they would just get rid of him to not help the goaltending issue. So that one's a little bit more vague, but like they're not going to carry 3 forever. It just, there's something going on. I feel it, because it still isn't adding up. And I refuse to believe the answer is they just woke up one day and was like, oh my God, Annanen's our starter. I don't buy it.
Well, they rode the hot hand, right? Annunen played very well for a bit, and then he didn't, and he got benched. And benched is maybe too strong. He got taken out for a back-to-back. But to me, it's you can't make a goalie move until you know what you have in Kähkönen, because if Kähkönen is going to be worse than these two guys, then you can't trade one yet.
Yeah, exactly.
I think this is a three-headed goalie competition for a little bit, until probably Nichushkin comes back or somebody else comes back and forces them to make a move because the roster spot's gone. They've got space on the roster right now to carry three goalies, and I don't think you make a decision until you have to.
Short time. And then Kähkönen, when he was down with the Eagles, and Jack can agree with this, not many of those goals he gave up were his fault. So
he still didn't get a win, though. I mean, I know he did all right.
He did all right.
His fault?
Like the first game, he was just like, people were crowding his crease. Wyatt Amott was like literally on top of him for one of the goals. He didn't have a clear line of sight for one of them. I mean, it was just the situations. Go ahead.
It seems like that they wanted to end the conditioning to get a look at him, because or else why not at least keep him there through the weekend?
That was my last question of the segment, was that he was sent to the AHL for conditioning, and when would that be over? That was obviously, we know it's over now. And I said, is that an indicator that Georgiev isn't the starter anymore? And I'll answer the question myself, at least tell you what I think. I feel like now, knowing that he's been called up, it's at the very least not Georgiev's net. It might not be anyone else's either, but like the Avs are not sold on Georgiev. They are going to look for other options, high and low. And so, of course, Adrian, with his NHL 25 mind, immediately goes to the internet and looks up what sort of goalies are trade targets. Tell me, Philip Gustafsson for the Wild. Interesting. UC Saros is in a contract year. Interesting.
No, he got his extension already.
Okay, he got the extension, and that's why. That's
right. This is from June from the Athletic.
I was going to say that's why. Gosh, I can't.
You got to think about cheap.
Well, UC Saros got an 8-year. It was like an 8x8 year extension, and that's why Askarov wanted the trade, because he knew he wasn't going to get the start in Nashville, and they ended up throwing him down to the Barracuda anyways.
Well, there's very, very few teams that are willing to trade a goaltender right now, which is kind of also why I pegged Pittsburgh. Like, they might be the only other, and when Jari's on the roster, they're carrying 3 as well. So that's why it seems like a little bit of a match made in heaven there. But it's hard to say, because you're not going to find a whole lot of teams that are willing to move off the NHL roster in November.
Target Mackenzie Blackwood, he has no trade clause or anything like that.
And San Jose has to make room for Askarov at some point too. So
if you move Georgiev, hypothetically, if you move him over there, you're going to be adding $1 million roughly of cap hit to them unless we keep it. And
what's Blackwood's contract?
I just had it up, and it is 2.35. So we'd be saving roughly about $1 million. But I mean, of course, that would be prorated.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's another possibility, because regardless, they're looking for cheap. So in the ballpark.
It's like you look at his numbers so far this year: 389 goals allowed.
He's also playing for the Sharks,
who
are just got their first win last night.
And all this is getting a little ahead of it, because the last guy who played for the Sharks, who the Avs wanted to give a look at, still hasn't played yet. Kähkönen's going to get a look before any of this stuff happens.
Yeah.
And we still have a defenseman that is currently injured with the Eagles that still hasn't gotten a look that we just got from the Sharks.
Yep. Well, I mean, at the very least,
I want to add one more thing to this whole conversation real quick. Last night, I believe it was, Bednar did say, we're going to play. This is a direct quote. We're not just going to play. We're just going to play who we feel gives the best chance to win on that given night. We're not handing out starts in advance.
Which
So there's
is
no
stupid. I
starting
mean,
goal.
were they
So
not
that's no one's a
playing-
starter then. So
were
we
they
don't have
not
a starter.
playing who gives them the best chance to win up to this point? What have we been doing the last 5 years? I mean, come on.
No, I
I
think what
hate
that means
quotes
is
like
instead of
that.
having a dedicated starting goalie
Right.
who then gets nights off, they're saying, no, this is an open competition. Georgiev lost that title.
Yeah,
I mean,
Georgiev is defeated except for one win, and that's like.
Well, maybe I just need to go to more games.
I was gonna say you're the good luck charm, aren't you?
That's right.
But that wasn't even a very good game for him either, though. in
I
my
don't
opinion.
care. It's still one.
Yeah.
If I could, just because I haven't chimed in much. on
Evan,
this,
will
but
you
it's
keep
kind
it
of
down over there, please? Holy moly, man! We're trying to do a show here.
Okay.
I
see
just
how it is.
Let the editor in chief chime in.
Yeah.
Because I haven't chimed in much, and I'm doing a lot more listening than talking right now.
I like it.
And I mean, I think all of you are kind of hitting the right points, I guess, for lack of a better term, because this is a three-headed goalie competition, and they don't really know what they're going to do until Kakkonen starts, which I believe might be tomorrow night against the Lightning. I think that's a real possibility, just to see, just to see what there is, right? And it's nothing against Georgiev or Annunin, but neither of them have really been great, I guess, for lack of a better term. Annunin is the best out of the three, I think, so far. That's for sure. But I mean, like, even when Annunin came in relief, to start the season, people I think have kind of forgotten now and how difficult it was for him then. So it really is just a wait and see sort of situation. And I do agree with you, Jackie, of like, why have we not been playing our best goalie at hand? Like, what are we doing here on that front?
Yeah.
And I understand, like, trying to play Georgiev until he wins just to kind of progress with that mental battle, I guess. And it happened. It worked. And then he hasn't played since then. And then he played last night and he lost. So
yeah,
it's just a big cat and mouse game is really what it feels like. So a lot needs to happen. A lot needs to be determined probably within the next, I would imagine, 2 to 3 weeks, because that's when Nichushkin will then be back. And then, of course, you have the overlaying question of Landeskog and when he'll return, and that cap hitting, because that's going to be a very big change to the books, and then what you do about that going forward. So, to be a general manager couldn't be.
That's what I was going to say, Ezra, was I think we're having the same conversation that Chris McFarland's having, which is like, what are we really working with here? And that kind of, to me, that's a little bit frightening, because I was hoping maybe they had a plan heading in, and it's possible that Georgiev kind of blew that plan up and that they were rolling with that as the plan. But you probably should have had another one, because Georgiev showed that this was a potential problem in the playoffs last year and in the regular season throughout his time here as an Avalanche. So it's like, to me, we might have kind of had a moment of oversight where we didn't really put our ducks in a row. I mean, Jackie, all the way up this whole preseason, we were talking about when they're going to add this goalie, when they're going to add this veteran goalie, and it just never happened. Even at the deadline last year, we said, who's this goalie going to be? We thought it was on the horizon. It never happened. It's a problem.
They could have signed Kakkonen. I mean,
exactly.
Kakkonen signed this summer for $1 million. Like, why couldn't the Avs do that? It doesn't make any sense to me. Like,
correct.
Especially if you felt like Annunin was going to stay in the NHL one way or the other. You don't want to have more of a veteran third goalie.
Yeah.
It just doesn't add up to me.
No, me either. And that's why I hope you're right, Jackie. I hope there's just something happening under the surface that we're totally unaware of, and the Avs are just biding their time, waiting to make that move and to help us all sleep better at night. But that's that. We'll kind of leave that conversation in the past, maybe see how it comes up as it pertains to the games that we're going to preview in our next segment. We have about 385 live viewers right now, about halfway into our show. So, folks, thank you very, very much for tuning in. Please head on over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify if you want to check out our full catalog of podcasts. But let's get into our previews for next week Folks, we do these shows just about every Tuesday. Sometimes we reschedule, but it gives us a week's worth of games, and we like to get into them for you. So the first one coming up for the Avalanche, they'll continue their journey this season on the home against the Tampa Bay Lightning, and then they will play the Nashville Predators, and they will play Stamkos's new squad. I will send this one back to you, Mr. Managing Editor, since you were so polite and quiet last time. Which of those two opponents to you poses a bigger threat, at least in terms of winning the game?
Ooh, that's a good question because Nashville, people know I've been very high on Nashville, leading into the season. And honestly, they've kind of flopped harder than the Avalanche had to open the season, which I think was kind of a big surprise. They lost last night against Tampa in overtime and Stamkos' return to the Bay Area there. So if anything, I feel like Tampa Bay is the more dangerous one right now. I'll be honest, I don't know what the record is off the top of my head, so I'd have to go and look at it. But I would imagine that they still have Nikita Kucherov, who loves scoring empty netters, and they also are just kind of there. They're still kind of there.
12 points, second. Yeah, they're second in the Atlantic behind the Panthers with 12 points. So
there you go. Correct. Yeah, there you go.
Still just kind of there.
They just kind of hang around still, regardless. You thought their run to the Stanley Cup Finals 3 years in a row, and that was going to be over after that. Not yet, anyway, by the looks of it. So definitely Tampa for sure is the more, I guess, dangerous team in this situation.
Yeah.
Although as much as I would wish that Annunen would play in that game, I don't think it will, because I think that would really give Annunen like his true test, I guess you could say, because he hasn't really truly had one in the games that he's played. He plays like all the Chicago games and the Ducks and Utah and all that sort of stuff. And
wouldn't the game in Nashville be the test, the big one?
I would think so, with the goalie matchup too, because it's divisional. You're probably going to get Saros
on the road.
Yeah.
They're both good tests.
I like Kakinen against Tampa, and I like Annunen against Nashville. That would be good.
Good. Philip Forsberg's the Avs killer.
Yeah.
I strongly dislike him. I'm not going to use the word hate, but I'm going to use the strongly dislike on him.
Well, I want you, Brennan, expand upon Nashville's slow start. As we know, the Lightning prioritized Jake Gensel over their 3-time Stanley Cup winning champion in Steven Stamkos, and it felt like, oh wow, the Predators have gotten really good. They got their goalie, and as Evan mentioned, they've sort of flopped out of the gate, kind of similar to the Avs. Is it just a matter of it needing time to kind of gel out there?
Yeah, I think it's chemistry. They got Stammer, they got Marchessault.
Yep.
Gosh, they got someone on the back end too.
Brady Shea.
Yeah. That's an S, a K, and a J, and a no. And there's a couple others that they're like a few big names that they signed, and it was just, it was a huge summer for Nashville. But
Tanev?
Was it Tanev?
No,
he went to Toronto.
Sorry, yeah.
Those are the three big ones.
Okay,
those are the three big ones. And if you think about it, though, Marchie and Stammer, that's a reunion because they played together in Tampa way back when. But I think it's chemistry. Just playing under a new system, and just got to get time to gel.
Yep, you can't buy wins.
Nope.
No, you cannot buy wins. And Nashville's tried.
Vegas.
I was gonna say, that's true. Vegas might have done it. I was gonna say two fellow Conn Smythe winners, but I don't think so, because I think Vasilevsky won them the years, and Hedman one of the years as well. So almost. But I'm with you there. I think just like the Avs, we'll see the Predators kind of come on late. One of them's gonna get a wild card, probably, and they're gonna be a scary wild card team. I hope it's them and not us. But that's just me. But yeah, so the funny thing about this matchup with the Tampa Bay Lightning is, in light of the Nathan MacKinnon versus Nikita Kucherov Hart Trophy race, and in light of the Avalanche ending their three-peat chances, I'll send this one to you, Ezra. Is there a pseudo rivalry going on here between the Avs and the Lightning, or is it mostly just their fans and Twitter?
Well, I mean, I think it's two juggernaut teams from a couple years back, right? I mean, the Lightning had a bigger track record, but the Avs were right there with them in the playoffs every year for the same stretching of years. And the two cores aged differently, right? Like Nashville. I'm sorry, not Nashville. Nashville has Stamkos, so they're in my head. But the Tampa core is a little older. They're probably the guys that the Colorado guys were looking at and saying, that's who we want to be. Let's be them. And then they passed them, So there is a little bit of rivalry built into working towards beating your idols. But I don't think they played each other enough to really have a true rivalry. Yeah. Obviously the Stanley Cup final, but a couple of Stanley Cup finals in a row, absolutely, this would be a rivalry. But at this point, I think it's just salty fans.
Yeah, Jackie, do you agree with that? And I will end this line of questioning with, do you think we see a return of Arturi Lehkonen or Jonathan Drouin in any of these contests?
The first thing about the rivalry, I do think it's more of a Twitter thing. Other than, of course, neither team is going to forget about the Stanley Cup final that they participated in. But other than that, no. I don't even... We'll see how this Hart Trophy debate gets later on into the year, but it's way too early for that. As far as getting one of them back, I will say, because they're desperate, so it's a little hard to make an exact prediction because how desperate are they? But like Drouin, I still feel like is not as close as they've painted it as.
I agree.
Because he just even started skating last week. It's an upper body injury. So he wasn't even skating for several weeks. And then Benner said he's still in pain. That doesn't sound good. So, like how fast could they rush him? I guess that's up to them. And then Lehkonen is going to depend on what the doctor says. So, I mean, let's assume that he got cleared for the next step, but are they going to want to see a week of contact practices? Well,
I think he's been taking contact.
No, he can't because he hasn't been cleared. So
he's just been not in a non-contact sweater, but
like he's been out. He's practiced plenty. He's been with the team plenty, but he hasn't taken contact. And
he's just sick of the red jersey. That's what it was.
So it's hard to say. I'm sure I think it's possible he could play by Saturday, but I mean, is a doctor even going to say, like, come on, he needs to take contact for a week at least?
Yeah.
So
probably.
If I had to bet, I'd say no, but I also put it past them to
rush it. Yeah. Well, I mean, I just hope they do it all in one wave, kind of like Nichushkin's back, Lehkonen's back, Drouin's back, deal with us, because that would be pretty fun.
I still would like to think they're both back before Nichushkin. Because then that's going to be a long...
I hope so. Because that's next week, basically, right? Or 2 weeks from now.
13th.
Like 15. 15. ESPN said the 15th. So I guess they have better information than...
Right.
It's one of those 2 days. Just make it the 14th for crying out loud. Just right in the middle.
The suspension was officially on May 13th. So his suspension would officially end on the 13th of November.
Well, the broadcast, whatever game it was that they were on ESPN the other day, was it Seattle? Whatever. I think Leah Hextall said that she received an update from the league that he's potentially on track to play on November 15th.
Oh, play?
That's what she said.
Yes. But his suspension will end on November 13th.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I think they actually play on the 13th. And of course, assuming he passes his test and
assuming everything is on track and remains on track.
And I think I haven't even checked that far out, but I think it's a Wednesday, and
I think they play on they do play on the 15th. I think it's one of the Washington games.
Yeah, Wednesday is Los Angeles. Wednesday the 13th. Friday is Washington.
Boom.
And they're both on the road. Nope, I'm sorry, they're both at home.
Got to play Ovi.
And I'm assuming that he's going to get mixed reactions.
Yeah, that crowd's going to be kind of weird.
But the tone has definitely changed from like never come back, terminate or trade you for nothing to
Baby,
we're
come
gonna be
back.
healthy soon. We're gonna
Yeah,
have
exactly.
everyone back.
Yeah, I think if the lineup was fully healthy, people would be more inclined to be negative about it. But at this point, everyone's just desperate to see him play.
Yeah, when he scores a
Yeah.
power play goal, like in his first power play, everyone's be like, all right, sounds good. Looks
But
good.
it will be interesting, like to the level can people like root for him, like so that'll be interesting. I don't think it's all going to be forgotten, but I mean,
No.
when he's on the ice and he's scoring goals, it's
He's going to have the shortest leash for fans. As soon as
for
things
sure. Yeah,
go
if
bad,
he-
it's going to be like, oh, forget this
Yeah.
guy. You know what I mean? But
Shorter than Georgiev?
Yeah, second
Oh,
Shorter-
shortest.
Evan just read my mind.
Yeah.
Literally read my mind.
We all said it at once.
Here's the thing. I am rooting for him, and I'm getting shades of the 22-23 season right now where everybody's out and it's just all bad.
Dude, I
And-
was sitting here writing the script and I was like, oh my God, is this 22-23 again? What am I writing? I totally
exactly. And so the Avs are going to want any help that they can get, right? And if that means rushing Lehkonen, they're probably going to rush Lehkonen. If that means getting the Chushkin going and hoping that people are behind him, that's exactly what they're going to do. And it's not like that was not going to happen anyway, because the locker room has said that they're going to have the Chushkins back, that they're going to welcome him in and help him out with anything that's needed. So it's just a matter of
There's definitely a
getting it all
directive.
together.
Yes.
A line they were told, but
Yeah.
I mean, they're gonna
Well,
have to
and
deal with
I think
it.
it was Corey from the Denver Post that said this morning, he's like, yeah, so assuming that they don't get Druin and Lehkonen back for the next game, they're going to be missing somewhere in the neighborhood. I can't remember the exact number, but it was like 24 million out of the lineup.
24.5. Yeah.
It's been
Yeah.
20 for a little bit now, too. It's been 20 million.
was-
for-
it was-
Yeah. Colton just adds that 4.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy. Hopefully the timing works out, though, unlike the 2022-23 season where we were like, Landeskog's coming back for the playoffs, and then Landeskog never came back for the playoffs, and no one else came back either. Hopefully this
Well-
year everybody comes back, and it's just about whether or not they're gelling and who stayed
I
healthy.
don't know. This is game 10.
I know, right? And we're already losing Ross Colton and Jonathan Drouin before game 10. That's pretty scary stuff.
Well, and I remember in the 22-23 season that it was the Boston game early December. The bottom 6 was all Eagles when
Yeah.
Cal Burke made his debut.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
right.
because I remember being in the locker room for his debut. And that it was like Charles Houdon, Foodie.
Oh,
Yeah.
I forgot about him intentionally.
Is he a Canadian now, right?
Hey, he was good in
For
Loveland.
the Eagles, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
for the Eagles, he was really good. But you had Foodie, Barons, Ronta,
That's
and that was
right.
just on the forward core. That wasn't on the back end.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Myers, not Barons, but yeah.
Yeah.
God.
Ben
Not
Myers.
Barons, yeah.
Yeah.
Ben
yeah.
Myers getting minutes for Seattle, crazy.
I
But
know,
anyway,
right? Well,
You mean
I mean,
Seattle's AHL team?
I was gonna say Seattle's roughing it right now too. So,
Mhm.
I was gonna ask you guys about that Rasmus Dahlin high stick on Anton Lundell, but then I watched the tape and I don't feel like asking you about it because it's pretty cut and dry. It looks like he was following through on a frustration play and smoked Lundell right in the chin and got the maximum allowable fine for 5K. That seems about right for me. But I do want to get and talk about last week's bold predictions because we did have a ding. No spoilers, though. Ezra, I'll start with you. You said that Taser would score it wasn't his first game back, but you said that Taser would score that night, I believe.
I said first game back, and that didn't
yeah.
happen either. Yeah.
Sorry, my friend. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I also said that there would be a shutout, and I tell you what, I felt good a couple of times, and then it didn't happen. Oops. Whoops. Whoa. This guy's handed himself dings, unearned dings. That was an X, guys. There was no shutout. Corruption. Stop the steal. Evan, you had no prediction last week, and because you weren't here, I'm going to give you a buzzer. How dare you? Brennan, you said 10 total goals in the Ottawa game. You were 1 goal short. You should have said 8.5. or 9, and you would have been perfect.
You should have said 9. Should have said 9.
You also wanted a Steiny goal. Unfortunately, we are yet.
I still want the Steiny goal.
I do too.
Close.
Me too. He did. And then we had a watcher who gave us a bold prediction, and they predicted it was Peterman that Kovalenko would get his first goal, but he said that night, not in the week. So unfortunately, Peterman, if you're watching, that's a well-earned X, almost.
And we even asked him. We were like, "Which do you mean? You can say the week. You can say the week."
Yeah.
He didn't take it.
Well, so that just leaves us with this week's installment of bold predictions. But first, let me run that tape.
Oh, what about?
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
Oh yeah, I gotta get the ding. Didn't I? Didn't I forget the ding? Oh, didn't I? No, I didn't. Jackie, we're starting this week's bold predictions with your ding, which was Richie would play less or more than 9 games, and you were correct the next day. So congratulations. And with that, you get the honors on this week's bold predictions. So what is your bold prediction this week?
Well, I kind of talked about it earlier. I do think they'll make a goalie trade before Nichushkin comes back, but you can decide if you want to write that one down or not.
Okay, I will.
For this week, I will say they will not call anyone up. There's only so many extra forwards that you can play in a lineup.
Okay.
And they will actually...
Is this your...
Yes, this is my prediction for the week. They will not call anybody up.
Hey, this is her shade at me.
I was going to ask, is this you also hinting at Ludwig playing forward for the first time this season?
I will say he's less of a face puncher than I expected. However, the option is on the table. So either they'll rush somebody back or they'll finally go 11-7. I just don't think you can call up any more forwards at this point. It's pointless. Steinberg played 3 minutes last game. It's pointless. So use what you have.
He almost scored. Imagine that. All right. Well, I like that. I mean, all that tells me is that we don't have to write an article about who got called up this week, which is fine. And then write the subsequent article about who got sent down a week later. But let's get yours, Ezra. What do you got for me this week?
Ooh, okay. Speaking of Ludwig, I really like his defensive play, but the player I like more than anyone else right now really is Sam Malinsky. So I'm going to say we got a Sam Malinsky second assist last night. I think we're going to get a Sam Malinsky over 15 minutes game.
I know. I was going to say they need to play him more.
That's what I want
15 minutes is a pretty low bar, though.
I know, but he hasn't cleared it yet.
No.
He hasn't played more than 15 at all? I haven't checked that.
I don't think so. I can't think of a game.
I think he did one time, and it was twice, and I think one was against Anaheim, and the other was, and both situations were when they had a shortened bench because of an injury during the game. So
okay, I'll say 17 minutes then. I'll go more bold.
Yeah, he had 18 against Anaheim. He had 18 against the Islanders, and he had 16 against Columbus and 15 against Ottawa. So
yeah, his average is more than 15. I'm wrong. So I'll say over 18 minutes.
That would be
really bold.
That would be middle pairing numbers to me, and that's what I'm looking for.
Hell
right
yeah.
Yeah, because his average is 15.26. So that's
Hear me out, just real quick. Can Sam play with Manson for a second? Just to see.
They're not going to play two righties.
No,
I was going to say the handedness doesn't
okay.
matter.
But
one with Days.
I need Malinsky to play with someone who can.
I think they need to do double Sam.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Sam and Sam works for me. I want to see Sam and Malinsky and Taves. That's the combo
that would
I want.
Be sick. Yeah,
Malinsky Gerard and Makar works. We know that.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true.
Yeah, they did Gerard and Makar quite a bit during Anaheim.
I like it. Let's go Sam line, baby. Double Sam. And honestly, like I've been sporting this fancy stat about Malinsky, and I love it so much. But he's allowing the least goals, or He's allowing the least goals per 60 on ice time. So like that's
In
good.
the entire NHL, right?
Yes, in the entire NHL, which
It's
is
amazing.
wild. So give that
Now,
kid
he
more
is getting
minutes.
very sheltered minutes, but
Yeah.
I think he could do it if you took the shelter off a little bit.
Sweet. Okay, so Sam Malinsky will play more than 18 minutes. I got you down. Jackie,
yeah.
I got you down that the Avs will not call anyone up this week. Evan, Mr. Managing Editor, what you got for me?
Out of all of the darkness that is going on right now with the Avalanche, one very bright spot has been Casey Middlestat, and he has been phenomenal. I was told by one of our other writers, Jess, about this meme about Casey Middlestat has gone Middlestat mode, and I love using it on Twitter whenever he scores. Just quote tweeting that. It's wonderful. It's great. And I think he's going to go Middlestat mode even more this week because God forbid that something happens to Nathan McKinnon on the first line, but with all these injuries, who freaking knows? I think Middlestat's going to get 3 points this week.
3 points.
There's only 2 games, mind you.
Yeah, I was going to say that
whole show. So he's been averaging like a point a game. So I feel like average a little more than a point a game.
And the jury's not out yet by any means. But right now, that Casey Middlestat trade looks pretty good. Just saying. I know Bowen Byram is good in his future. He's going to realize more potential as his years go on, probably. But right now, it looks pretty good. Like the Avs made the right move there to get their second line center. And Casey Middlestat is the reason why it looks like a good move because he's performing. I mean, he's already got 6 goals in 10 games, 13 points in 10 games. He's had back-to-back 3-point nights against Ottawa and Utah. So like he's beating up on the guys he should beat up on. And I love that. I love that Middlestat mode meme as well, stealing that. And here's to him getting 3 points this coming week. Brandon, what you got for me?
So with the game against Tampa, Nate always seems to do really well against Tampa.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to estimate 2 goals against Tampa.
Ooh, I like it. You're not going to go full 8-0 and go hat trick?
No, that's going too far because I don't want to hurt my fantasy stats.
There you go. All right, then that just leaves me for my bold prediction, and I'm going to keep it with the Tampa Bay Lightning matchup. And I'm going to say that I'm going to keep it with Nathan McKinnon as well, but I love doing this one. Nate wins a head-to-head in terms of points against Nikita Kucherov. Because
he's basically for all of he's basically insinuating that Nathan McKinnon's going to get a hat trick because that's his favorite thing. So there you go.
Yeah.
Well, what you need to happen is to not have them leave the net empty.
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to make the difference there.
As long as we win, I'm feeling good. If we win, I'm feeling real good. But if we're even down a little bit, here come the Kucherov empty netters, and my head will explode.
Well, and the thing is Vazzy, I think, is due for a sit. So they may play. I think it's Johansson is still back up there against the Avs.
Which is still mind-blowing. But
just do it. Play him. Let the hate flow through you and play Johansson so that McKinnon can get a Mac trick and we can all live happily ever after. Oh, that would be wonderful. All right, well, that's our bold predictions this week. We're running a little quick today. Do you guys have anything else we want to touch on?
I realized since we went over Jackie's bold prediction and the ding, I don't actually think we ever went over Cal Ritchie getting sent down to the OHL.
No, we didn't.
So I might as well. I wasn't here last week, so I didn't get a chance to say anything on the matter. And I did write an article the next day, saying, decisions coming soon, right? About it. And then a couple hours later, boom, there it goes, right? I'm glad I almost pushed that story to the next day. I almost
glad
did.
You didn't.
I'm very happy I didn't. But I don't know about you all, but I'm also surprised that he didn't at least get 9 games, especially all things considered with the injuries that are going around and just giving guys other looks. Listening back to last week, he didn't, Jackie was saying he didn't have to play 9 straight games, but he could have played 7 or 8. And then you could have at least kept him around just to see, if anything else pops up for a game where he might need to slot in. And maybe you could have now with Colton being out for who knows how long, at least getting him in for an additional game or two if he stuck around. But I don't know. What do you all think?
Well, Bednar doesn't. It goes back to something I've always said. Bednar doesn't like guys hanging around. He doesn't want to deal with people that are not part of the team. Like, he kind of either sees that you're in or you're out. So that part doesn't really surprise me because, yeah, they could have milked it if they wanted to. They could have said, let's at least get this to mid-November. I probably would have got it to, like, whenever World Junior Camp starts, but that would have been a lot of sitting. But they could have at least gotten it to Nichushkin's return with some decent planning. So I don't like they sent him home in the middle of a road trip. I don't think that was a good look. They should have at least had their decision made before or after that because he didn't even play in junior right away. So it's not like they calculated it or something and had him back at the right time. So I don't know. I just think Bednar got his way eventually. I think he just said he's not staying and I'm over it.
Yeah. I think you're probably right. I think he probably had his weekly or whatever amount of time meeting with management and McFarland, and McFarland was like, well, how's it going? And he's like, please just take him right now because I would rather have somebody who, I mean, I don't want to beat up. You guys know, I was full Cal Ritchie and he just didn't have it. It's plain and simple. He's not
they
NHL
never
ready.
really set him up to succeed. Like with Parker Kelly, who I think is like a Dollar Tree version of Comfer. I'm not even sure he's an NHL player, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, what kind of offense were they going to generate? Like, what look did they even have in the offensive zone in like the 4 games that they played together? It's
but he has to drive it. Yeah.
Look like though, because if you put him on a line with like McKinnon and Ranson, then he has to defend against the top lines of other teams.
That's fine.
What is
but
setting him up to succeed?
But he had shifts with Colton.
They gave him every opportunity.
No, he had looks with Colton and Kovalenko and Ivan. Like, I'm not asking, he needs to play with McKinnon to look good. Like, no, that would have been my suggestion either. But you saw
Middlestat.
Middlestat's not the strongest on the puck. Like that, for all the good things that we've seen for Middlestat, that's the one thing is not what he's exceptional at is strength on the puck. So you put him with the one guy, and they're both creators like that. So that doesn't work either. So I'm not saying like, it has to be, they have to cater the whole team to him. But you saw in certain shifts, like he looked good with Colton and Kovalenko and Ivan and people that have energy and life to their game like that. And they just never stuck with it. They weren't trying to, make it viable. So I just felt that was disappointing. And he was ignored for 10 days. Like, he scored a goal and then nobody spoke to him again. So, I mean, I'm sure that was great for the confidence.
Nobody's sad they didn't even post his picture.
Yeah, it's sad. And then you have Kovalenko and Ivan's picture, and it's like, is it seriously just because they won those games? Or it's just, it's really sad, to be honest.
They didn't post a congrats on your first goal photo? Is that what you're saying?
No, nothing.
Like, they didn't have the big hat yet.
Well, okay, they didn't win that game. That's fine. There wasn't going to be the hat. But like every hockey player on the planet that scores their first goal, they hold the puck and they take a picture. No, there was no picture. And then literally nobody spoke to him after he scored for 10 days.
What do you mean by that?
Yeah.
No interview, nothing.
Okay,
nobody interviewed him after the game, like even that game or any other day.
Okay, so that may have been a restriction by PR. Speaking from experience.
Well, okay, yeah. I mean, then just add that to the fact.
And I'm trying not to I don't want to bang on PR and the Avalanche or anything like that, but like they even do that with the Eagles, and they've done that with injured guys at the Avalanche level that you do not speak to certain players, and that may have been the case with Ritchie, so that he doesn't get talked to.
Just as a normal rule before he scored the goal.
Well, no, they talked to him before that. They talked to him before his first game. in
that
the
may have
NHL.
been like the only availability that he was
okay.
allowed
I mean,
to
I
have.
don't know that, but if that
Yeah.
was their directive, then that's pretty sad. So,
Well,
however they
I mean, he's a
arrived at it, it's
19-year-old
sad.
kid who doesn't know how to do, interviews and stuff like
As
that.
well.
He's a
And
World
Yeah.
Junior kid. He's grown up with a lot of media.
So this is the conversation that we needed to have today, folks, as it turns out, because I feel like we do have some differing opinions here, because I'm kind of with Ezra. I'm of the opinion that like they tried just about everything they could outside of pairing him up with Nathan McKinnon, and his whole thing coming into the season was that he was a play driver, a play creator. So for me, it's like if he's ready, he's supposed to be the one lifting up the Parker Kellys and those bottom six guys as a creator. And I think that he will inevitably be. So no, they have a picture up. Oh, so they retweeted NHL public relations photo, which was Richie records first NHL goal. So they didn't do their own photo. That's
they
true.
were kind of lazy about it.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. So they did. Richie scores first goal by retweeting NHL stats media.
I think here's the thing. We could talk about the picture and the photo and whatever. The team is going to do their thing, right? That's nothing that really any of us from the outside can control. But I think
it's just indicative of the attitude is what I'm getting at. Like it's indicative. Yeah, the whole attitude around the whole thing is what I'm saying.
Here's the thing, though. I think I'm not surprised that he didn't play more than 9 games. I don't know if any of you are. I'm not surprised that he didn't play more than 9 games. I didn't think that was going to be a possibility. I thought he would get up to 9 games, and that would kind of be that, unless he, absolutely exceeded expectations, which he did. Like he didn't. He started off good. He kind of tapered off towards the end. I mean, we saw his last game against, I don't remember who it was now, but
Seattle.
His last game against Seattle was far from great, and I think that kind of showed that he wasn't there yet, right? And I think that's fair to say for a 19-year-old. I think he's going to tear it up in the OHL. I mean, he got 5 assists in his first game back with Oshawa, so I'm not at all worried about him for the future. I think he will definitely be a mainstay. In the future Avalanche lineup, and if he gets the right guys around him, that will also help his case. I think that might mean making moves in the front office where then you are able to build for the future, build 3-4 years down the line when Richie's starting to really hit his stride, right, in the Avalanche lineup, and you get the right guys with him. That's how you succeed a team. That's how you build a team for the future. Right. That's how you do that. So I don't think it was going to work immediately.
He either needed a commitment now, but he still needs a commitment. So if it's going to happen, there needs to be.
I guess where I'm kind of confused is wasn't the reason why we thought he was going to stick around was the commitment.
Right. That would be why he would. And I thought there are reasons to believe that. And like I said, I also said that in my heart, I didn't believe that they were going to make the commitment.
Well, but watching the games, watching his play for the games that he did play, what I saw was a kid losing confidence because he's playing over his head and he isn't ready. And that's worse for him than anything. Like going down and getting that confidence back. And he can't process the NHL game at NHL speed right now because he's not ready, because he's 19. That's normal. This is not a knock on the kid. Going back to the OHL to build that confidence back up and get better at processing the game is what he needs. So I think they made the right choice to commit to training him the right way. A commitment to keeping him on the roster might have hurt him more than anything else.
I wanted him to go to World Juniors. I've always said that I felt like that was very important for him, and that he would learn a lot there. They could have made it work if they wanted to.
So can he not go to World Juniors now, or is he still slated for that? Okay.
He just could have gone off of the NHL roster and come back.
Gotcha.
Like the place where you learn to be an NHL player is in the NHL. It truly is. That's where you learn the structure, the speed, everything. Like that's where you learn. So the guys that they committed to when they were young, when they were 19, they weren't all there either. So I always said I felt like he was about 10% away, and it just depended on if they wanted to work with him or not. Okay. So it's easy to say like, oh, he wasn't ready, and you can always find a reason if you're looking for it. But
I mean, it's easy for me to say it because I watched him not play well. Yeah, like I like the kid. I think he has such a high ceiling, and I'm so excited that they got to draft him late in the first round. That's amazing. But
I mean,
throwing
the guys
somebody
that
into
stick
the
around.
fire, you create a Tyson Jost. You could create a guy who can only get by because he's too scared to do anything interesting. I think they did the right
I don't
thing.
believe that you can like scare skill out of somebody. Like Jost's problem was he just isn't that talented. Like if he had gone to college for 4 years, he wouldn't just magically be more talented.
I'm thinking back to the 19. Who was the last 19-year-old? Sam Girard.
Yeah,
he stuck around.
I mean,
he had
Byram.
20 points.
Byram didn't stick.
At 19, he did. At 18, he went back, but at 19, he was on the team.
Let's look at Bo Byram's stats.
He got hurt though. I mean, but Byram also is different because Byram came in and was like, "Oh, every pair he's on gets better, amazing." But Richie came in and every line he was on got worse. So it's just a different conversation.
And Sam could also be indicative of kind of the entire start of this season, though, to be fair. So anyway, Brendan's been raising his hand. I want to hear what he has to say.
Oh, sorry, I can't see
I was gonna say, it's like maybe we can't say this is true, but maybe Richie actually said, "I'm in over my head. Send me, maybe send me back." If he'd
never give up the money.
Oh yeah, but my point is like maybe he actually approached the coaching staff and said this. We don't know, but it's like McCarr. He approached the Avalanche and said, "Give me another year." It takes a mature person to say, "I need more time."
Yeah.
And if Richie is as mature as some people are saying he is, well, maybe he is saying, "I need another year."
Yeah.
Well, also guys don't want to get stuck in the AHL.
Yeah. Well, he's not going to get. I mean,
I don't think he will.
Yeah, he's an NHLer, no doubt. To me, it's just not right now, and that's fine. I think that's plenty. And we wouldn't have known if the Avs wouldn't have known had they not given him the chance this season, and now they do. And we can circle back again next training camp. Hopefully he does have a bunch of that World Junior experience to fall back on, and that is a little bit of an elevated level play compared to what he's playing in terms of the OHL. So that'll be nice as well. I think I still think they did right by him by giving him a look this year, and I think that it's okay to just have done that for me. And based, like Ezra said, based on what we watched, I think that that's fair. We'll find out how things go for young Callum Ritchie in the future, and that will be very nice. But I think with the other 19-year-olds, we have to consider, one, Sam Girard was like the first real tangible piece of the Matt Duchene trade. So he basically was going to play.
Other than Hammond, but
yeah, but he was going to play, and that was the real skater for in that trade. Turns out it worked out even better down the road with the picks and stuff. But I digress. That was the conversation we probably should have started with. Was the Callum Ritchie? Why did he go back to the AHL? And I appreciate all of you, Jackie, Ezra, Evan, and Brennan. Thank you for having your own opinions and for stating them in a mature and valid way so that we can have a discussion. This is a great time to show people that we can disagree and still have a discussion about something. So there's
all I'm going to say is I'm going to Toronto in a month, and Oshawa's not far away. I do want to go see him.
Do it.
That'd be fun.
That would be cool. Do it. And then build a sign that says, "Jackie loves you" from Mile High Hockey Lab. Jackie. That's what we'll do. But go ahead.
Ask for a trade.
Yeah. Ask for a trade. Oh my goodness. How dare you? How dare you? No, I'm just kidding. Well, folks, we have about 587 of you officially now that are tuned in live. So thank you very much for watching this programming. We really appreciate it. If you enjoyed this, please head on over to milehighhockey.com. We have all of our written material over there, and give us a follow at MHH_lab and at Mile High Hockey on X, and you will get all of the latest and greatest information from our publication. And we're just having a blast, even though the Avalanche are just floating around at 500. We're still going to keep doing this on a weekly basis. So thank you folks very much for tuning in On behalf of myself, I'm here with Ezra Parter, Evan Liu, Jackie K, and Brendan Vogt. And we just want to tell you, before the Avs play the Lightning and before Nathan McKinnon scores more points than Nikita Kucherov, have a wonderful day and go Colorado Avalanche.
Thank you for tuning into the Mile High Hockey Lab.